All righty, 1 second. Mr. Wise, we are recording and you are the host. Take it away.
Okay, very good. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Phil Wise. It's been a while since I've been at the meeting. Looks like we have a lot of experienced people here, so you're probably pretty familiar with a lot of this stuff, but there's a few things that it's always good to be reminded of, and probably try and make this a little bit interactive. I got my, let me go back a little bit. Yeah, I moved to Florida about 18 years ago. This was my first foray into rehabbing or doing anything in real estate. My first home back in 1989, 1990, I bought it. It was a little 2-bedroom cottage, pulled the roof off and built 5 bedrooms upstairs. And since then I've built a couple of houses, and after we moved here, got involved in rehabbing and flipping during the last crash. And then when short sales started to get slow, I moved into doing home inspections. So I've been doing that for 5 or 6 years now. I have 2 other inspectors working for me. So we do a lot of home inspections for buyers. We do a lot of insurance inspections. I'm also a mold assessor. So I do mold assessments, and I have a great public adjuster that I work with and a really good mold remediator. So if you come across mold issues, we can definitely help you in that arena. So obviously, when you're buying a property, they always say you make your money when you buy. So the due diligence is really important. So we're going to look at a few common things to help you to avoid buying a money pit. One of the things that's most important, which people often forget about, is checking the permit history. And why do you want to check the permit history? Well, probably the most important thing is, well, a couple of things, but the roof is the most important thing you want to find out about. You want to find out how old the roof is to see how much life it has left in it. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of the big ones relates to insurance, which we'll talk about in a little bit when we get to insurance. If you want to find the insurance, the permit history, rather, the best way to do it is just Google the city and then permit history. And that's usually the easiest way to track down the permit history on a property. Sometimes you won't be able to find it, but usually you can do it that way, or you can call the building department and ask them to let you know when the last roof permit was pulled. So there you go. Call the city, look it up online. All the different cities pretty much have it online. There's still a couple of cities that don't, but pretty much most of them do now. If you're in Palm Beach, you may not find it online. It could be on the county website, because a lot of Palm Beach is unincorporated. So there's a lot of permits you'll find in the county website. And in Miami, pretty much everything. You've got some small cities in Miami, but most of it's on miami-dade.gov. A little bit hard to find, because when you go to the Miami website, you're going to find a dozen different things to do with permits. You got to look for the right one that has the address on it. Okay, so a few problems to watch out for. So I mentioned roofs. Electrical panels is another big one. There's a lot of electrical panels that insurance companies will not insure, and because they're a safety hazard. When it comes to plumbing, 2 of the big things you want to watch out for are polyethylene pipes and cast iron pipes. Probably seen some of the ads by attorneys about cast iron pipes. If the place has an addition, an extension, you want to make sure it's been permitted or up to code, because otherwise the city, if they come along, they may tell you to tear it down. Been there, done that a few times. Obviously, mold is another big one to watch out for. It can become very expensive if you have to do mold remediation. And it's the M word is a very scary word for a lot of people. Termites, you don't usually have to worry too much about termites, but because the drywood termites, which is the most common, take a long time to do any damage. But if you have the subterraneans, they can really do a lot of damage. I've got a property in Miramar, and the roof, I had a problem in part of the roof in it, and I had it repaired a few times, and it just kept on sinking, and I couldn't work out what was going on. When the tenants moved out, I pulled back some of the trim and discovered live subterraneans eating away in there, and they'd basically eaten away most of the roof. So while the roof cost me $8,000, it cost me another $12,000 just to rebuild the wood, and that was with a pretty good discount from the contractor. The other big thing to watch out for is insurability. Can you get insurance? Because there's a lot of properties, unless you fix a few things, like a lot of those things in that list, you're going to have trouble getting insurance. Maybe with citizens, but even then sometimes not. And the other issue with insurance, of course, is the cost of insurance these days, but let me get to that a bit later. All right, so life expectancy is a big thing on roofs. One, because you might have to replace it, you might get a leak, but the other thing is, again, for insurance. Can anybody tell me how much life insurance companies want to see on a roof before they'll give insurance? Anybody know that number?
10 years?
How many?
10.
20.
Yeah, well, it depends on the insurance company, but most of them want to see that there's at least 5 years life remaining. Some with like citizens might allow 3 years, but they'll probably come back next year and want another roof inspection. So even if the roof is okay now, and realtors always say, oh, the roof's not leaking, what are you worried about? Well, you have to have a roof certification or a 4-point saying the roof's still got at least 3, 4, or 5 years life left. So what's the typical life on 3-tab shingles? How long do they last?
10 years?
Yeah, 10. Well, I'd say 15. And the other thing is, again, with insurance companies, I mean, some insurance companies won't insure them if they're more than 10 years old. Some will insure them up to 15, and some will go up to 20. Citizens will go past 20 if they have a certification saying it's got at least 3 years life left. So I'd say 15 for those. Dimensional or architectural shingles get slightly more, 15 to 20 years. No, I've gotten this the wrong way. So flat roofs, 10 to 15. And of course, that's the one that everybody forgets about. And people forget about their roofs basically regardless. Nobody gets up in their roof to check it. When a major storm goes past or a hurricane, you really should have a roofer go up there and have a look, because chances are you've got some broken tiles going on up there, or some shingles blown off or something like that. So concrete tile, 25 to 30 years. But again, you got two issues. Even if the tiles are good, the underlayment is pretty much shot by the time you get to 30 years. And the insurance company wants to see that it's got remaining life on it. Any questions about roofs?
Metal roof, 50 years?
Yeah, I don't really have a firm number on metal roofs. 40 to 50 years, probably something like that. I mean, some of them do need maintenance. Some of them have little rivets on the top, and those rivets have little rubber washers which need to be replaced, and you've got, I don't know how many thousand of them on the roof. But if they have the concealed ones, then you don't have to worry. But yeah, the metal's not going to wear out anytime soon. So we're starting to see more and more of those going. So obviously you get a roof like that, forget it. You're not going to get insurance. And even if you do, insurance company is going to, in 6 months' time, they're going to send someone or take an aerial shot or look at it, and they're going to cancel the insurance policy. Same with that. I mean, that's shot. Pretty much every concrete roof, tile roof, is going to have some broken tiles. Typical repair is to, or fix is just to glue them back together. Unless they're really bad, then you have to replace them. And even some insurance companies, we had one recently where it had a couple of cracked tiles. They had been repaired, but it looked like they were cracked. And 6 months after closing, the insurance company wanted a new roof certification showing that there were no cracked tiles. So insurers are becoming really, really difficult. We've had 3 major companies just leave the market in the last month or two. electrical panels. So there's 4 electrical panels you need to watch out for, which when you're doing an inspection, when you're buying a property, just have a look and see if you have any of these here. So you can see the brands. The top one at the left says Stablock. Can anyone tell me what brand that is?
That is an out of business brand.
Yeah,
They're
it's
no
the most
longer in business for 20
notorious,
years.
notorious brand you'll find out there. Most people are familiar with this one. You can see it in the bottom of the label. It's Federal Pacific. And then we've got a Sylvania, Challenger, and the other one is Zinsco. So I think Citizens may cover them, but they're unreliable panels, and good idea to change them anyway. They're going to come up. If you're selling to a retail buyer, their inspector is going to raise it as a red flag anyway. So if you're buying a property with those, you want to negotiate for a discount when you're buying, so you don't get stuck with a cost later on.
For those of you that are buying one that have one of those panels, you don't want to pay more than $1,000 to replace that interior panel. The interior panel should cost $700 to $800 to replace if it's about that size. If it's got a lot of breakers, you might go up to about $1,000.
Yeah, it depends. They can be even more than that, and it depends if you're pulling a permit. Really, you should be pulling a permit, and then you're going to pay an extra fee because there's so much more running around for the contractor.
True.
Polybutylene pipes, almost impossible to get insurance for these now. Anyone tell me what years to watch out for polybutylene?
Tell you what.
For about 20 years they were used. Starting, anyone tell me what years you'll find these in homes?
I think 78 and back.
Yeah, 75 to about 96 in millions of homes. The issue with these is eventually they're going to end up leaking. Usually at the fixtures, but I think they can leak anywhere in the pipe as well because they corrode from the inside. There was a big major class action lawsuit which ended the production of them. Often very hard to find. You want to look under the sinks and at the toilet line, but especially in the early 90s, a lot of the builders were using copper stubs, so you can't even see if it has polybutylene. But look for that grey, bluey grey plastic pipe in the homes at that time. Because if you have to replace them, you're looking at $7,000 to $10,000, and then you've got to rip all your walls open. It's a pretty major job. I don't think I've got cast iron in there. So the other one, cast iron. Tell me what year you're going to find cast iron drain pipes.
1900 and on.
Yeah, when did they stop? When did they start using PVC?
I think PVC started in late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, about mid 70s. So
yeah,
I've seen one in 74, but usually around 75 they started using PVC. So a lot of the old cast iron drain pipes are starting to fail. You can be paying anything from $10,000 to $30,000 if you have to replace all the cast iron pipe in the home. The only way to tell the condition, you can run the water and see if there's any blockage, but apart from that, the only way to really know their condition is to have a plumber go in there with a sewer scope and run the camera down the line and see what's going on.
that'll run you $2,500.
You did yours for 2,500?
Oh yeah, 2,000, 2,500 to run a pipe down, to run a camera in there and run all the way out to the street.
The camera, yeah. They usually charge about $400 for the camera.
Yeah.
To run through. Extensions and additions. And one thing, even if it looks like an addition, I mean, there's a few ways you can check. You'll see a lot of enclosed garages. If there's a step down, often that's a giveaway sign. If it's the same level as the outside ground, that could be a sign, although I think I have seen permitted ones like that, but pretty rare. And of course, if it's a ground level, the chances are you're going to have moisture problems anyway. Plus, even if you try and legalize it, it's not always that easy because, especially if it's frame, because it's probably got 4-inch studs, now code is 6-inch studs. And if the height's not right, if it's not built to current building standards, you're probably going to have to knock it down and rebuild it. So watch out for any additions that have done. I mean, I don't see them that much anymore. If you're in Hialeah, you're probably going to see some, and in
Pompano Beach.
whereabouts?
Pompano Beach is known for this. A lot of people
Right,
have
yeah,
closed their
some-
carports and
Yeah, the
garages over the
carports,
years.
yeah, the carports. A lot of those carports have been enclosed. That's true. Yeah.
BCPA will usually show you a sketch of the property, and if it says G on it or a CP, that's a carport or garage. And if they say it's a bedroom and they're trying to sell it as a bedroom and the BCPA shows it as a carport, like Phil said, be very wary of that.
Yeah, that's a good tip. And of course, anything on BCPA doesn't mean that it's permitted. It just means it's taxable real estate. Insurance. Let me just go back. I know there was something else I was going to talk about back here. Okay, so mold is the other thing. Really, you want to have a look for any signs of water damage, obviously under sinks, under the air conditioner, behind water heaters, places like that. Have a good look around for water damage, because that can get very expensive. A lot of people don't realize they have water damage or mold going on in the house, and termites. Usually you're going to find that on the fascia or up in the attic. Probably not many people look in the attic when they're buying a property, but you can often see it on the fascia. So let me go back to insurance. So we got two parts of insurance: a 4-point inspection, which you don't always have to worry about, but if the home is 30 years old, you're going to need a 4-point, which means the insurance company wants to know the age of the roof and how long it's got left on it. The insurance company wants to know what sort of plumbing it has, and that the plumbing's okay. They want to know what electrical panels you have, that it's all safe, and they want to know that the air conditioner is in working condition. So if you're buying properties that were built before 1991, then you got to be really on your guard, because there's so many of these issues that can come up for insurance. If you're buying a newer property, it's not such a big deal. Really, Allstate, I think, is about the only company that needs a 4-point inspection, generally speaking, on newer properties. So that's the biggest, probably the biggest deal killer, is those issues for insurance. If you're trying to sell a property that has any of those issues, then you're going to have them, generally speaking, rectified before you can sell them. Citizens now, if it's a roof that needs replacing, if the buyer has a signed contract with a roofer in place, then they'll let you. Then they'll give you insurance and give you 30 days to replace the roof. But that's one of the few exceptions that I'm aware of. But if you have any of those things on a property you're buying or selling, make sure you talk to your insurance agent, find out what your property has and what you're going to need to do in order for you or your buyer to get insurance on those properties or on that property. Any questions about 4-point inspections? And one question, do you need a 4-point inspection on a condo? Anybody know?
So, Phil,
Yeah.
when you said the 4-point inspection, we're just basically talking about the roof.
No, it's the 4 main systems. It's the roof, electrical, plumbing, and air conditioning. So the insurance company wants to know that all 4 systems are in safe working order.
And the condo still needs to be checked for the roof.
Yeah, but you're not going to have to, but for the roof, the association is going to have a master policy to cover the roof. Right. So I've done about 3 4-point inspections for condos in the last 5 years. So it's extremely rare that you're going to need those. And if it's a townhome, you got to be careful with townhomes. Sometimes a townhome is a condo, sometimes a townhome is fee simple, single family. So if it's fee simple, then it's going to need a 4-point. If it's a condo townhome, then normally it doesn't need one. Okay, wind mitigation. Are you going to get any discounts if you don't have impact windows and don't have hurricane panels?
Nope.
Well, that's what most people think, but in actual fact, there are 7 different things you can get discounts from. Doesn't matter if you don't have any impact windows, no storm panels, you can still get a lot of discounts. So if you have a look at that diagram, the first thing you're going to get discounts for is just the age of the home. The building code changed in Broward in Miami after Hurricane Wilma. Anyone tell me what year the building code changed?
I don't remember the exact year.
Okay, in September 1994. So you'll find pretty much anything that was built in 1994 and even early 1995, the permits were pulled before the code changed in 1994. So if it doesn't have any hurricane panels, then it's 99.9% chance it was built before 1994, because at that point they required more things on the home, including opening protection for the doors and windows. So you're going to get discounts if it's, sorry, let me go back to the rest of Florida. They dragged way behind. So the building code in the rest of Florida didn't change until, anyone know that year?
2001.
2001, perfect, March 2001. So if you're in Palm Beach or anywhere else, wasn't required until that time. But again, you're not going to get those, you're not going to get a discount if the house was built before 2001 or if the roof is older than 2001. So that's your first discount. If the house was built to the later building code, usually referred to as FBC in insurance jargon, Florida Building Code, even though it changes every 4 years or so. The second discount is if the roof was replaced or put on after the building code changed. And the date we're going by is when they pulled the permit. So even if the house was built in finished in 1995, if the permit was pulled August 31st, 1994, no discounts. So that's your first 2 discounts. There's another roof discount, and that is, actually it's not really, you can't see it very well in this picture down the bottom. It's a bit covered, unfortunately. But the type of roof you have, the shape of the roof, hip roof as opposed to a non-hip roof. So a hip roof, basically the roof is on an angle on every side. You see that picture at the top, you have 2 sides that are hip or on an angle, and the ends that are vertical. So that's a gable roof, no discounts. But if you have at least 90% of the roof is a hip, in other words, on an angle, then that's one of the biggest discounts you can get for insurance, because that's the best design for a hurricane. Another important one is what's holding the roof to the house to stop the roof blowing off. So you got 2 things. You always hear people talk about hurricane straps. Anybody know when they started putting hurricane straps in houses? Any wild guesses? Sorry?
What's the question?
When did they start putting hurricane straps in houses in South Florida?
2007.
Now, actually, you'll find them even back in the 1960s.
Yeah, I've seen them on houses built in 56 on. I've seen some up in Lighthouse Point that were built in 56, and they all have hurricane straps all the way around.
Right. Though you will find usually if they're built in the 50s, they're probably going to have rafters rather than straps. And usually with rafters, the best you'll normally find, they do have some metal straps, but they need to have at least 3 nails to get any insurance discount. Now, those earlier homes usually only had 2. When you're looking at something in the 1960s And even in the 1970s, often the nailing isn't right. They have to have at least 3 nails, and it has to, if it wraps over the truss, it has to have 2 nails on the front, 1 on the back. Sometimes the nailing pattern's not right, and you won't get the insurance discount. Now, it can be a big deal for some of those older homes. I did inspection a little tiny probably 1,100 square foot home in Tamarack, probably built in the early 60s, and his insurance was $6,000 because he didn't have a single credit. So that's becoming more and more of an issue for people who can't afford to pay their insurance. You know, it's a pretty big number if you're paying $6,000 or more for your insurance every year, particularly if you're on a fixed income. So that's another reason a lot of people are updating their homes. You can get them retrofitted. There are companies that will go in and retrofit and put hurricane clips on the roof to give you that discount. The other one is when they put a new roof on, they re-nail the wood, the plywood there, which you'll see the roof deck gets re-nailed, and they have to use a bigger nail. So pretty much anything that's been roofed since 1994 is going to have that on it as well.
I
So
do
you can
6
see-
nails whenever I'm building, always 6 nails.
All right.
We don't-
So
we
you
don't
can
use
see,
two double.
you have to be every 6 inches. So no matter, even if there's no impact windows, no impact doors, no hurricane shutters, there's still another 5 or 6 things you can get discounts for. And the amount of discount you can get varies a lot depending on the home. Every home is a little bit different. But obviously once you put in, you have protection on your windows and doors, that's another level of discount that you're going to get for your insurance. And it's surprising if you go to Parkland, buy a new home that's 3,000-4,000 square feet, their insurance might be only $2,500 compared to one a quarter of the size that doesn't have any discounts. They can be paying $6,000. Any questions about insurance?
Okay, Phil, I have a question.
Yeah.
Because right now I have a leaking roof.
Right.
I had to file for a claim. I did have someone check out the roof, but they denied it because I guess the damages was short of the deductible, which was $2,500.
Right. What sort of roof do you have?
I'm in a townhome, so I'm not sure if it's a non-hip or a hip roof.
Is it a tile roof or shingle
Tile
roof?
roof, tile.
Tile roof. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, the crazy thing, one of the reasons why our insurance has gone sky high is, by law in Florida, if 25% of the roof is damaged from storm, then the insurance company has to give you a new roof. So you have people with 30-year-old roofs. You've got roofers and public adjusters going around and saying, hey, I'll get you a new roof. And so now all of a sudden a roof that should have been replaced anyway because it's so old, we're all paying for their new roof through insurance because of all these fraudulent claims that are being made.
Alex, you might want to call a public adjuster. You may have more issues along with just the roof leak, like drywall that got wet, flooring that got wet, baseboards might have to be replaced.
Mhm.
Whatever it is, a public adjuster will pick it all out and then call your insurance company and say, hey, you denied this guy, but guess what? He actually has a $45,000 claim, not a $2,500 claim. So you don't know what kind of claim you have. So you might want to call a public adjuster.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
it's
have
always
one.
worth checking. Just make sure you use, somebody good, because some of them just put in the claim and don't follow up. You need someone who knows what they're doing.
We got a guy.
Who really cares. And
Alex, what's his name? Adjuster man.
yeah, there's Adjuster Man. There's also David Sherman. He's a really good public adjuster if you want his contact information.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? I guess my time's about up.
Hello, this is Edison.
Hey, Edison.
Hey, Phil, how are you?
Good, thanks.
What are the fees for the new inspection? I have a short sale going on. I might need a, and by the way, but the people here, Phil did an inspection for one of my better properties, maybe almost 2 years ago now. And I got a big discount from the bank. And so I need another one of those. There was a rehab. I made 6 figures on that one rehab. So thank you for that, Phil. And a few
Sure.
other things we've done together. But for now, what are your fees as far as a new inspection on a property in Palm Beach?
Yeah, if it's depends on the size of the home, but if it's just for just the general home inspection, you're looking at about 350. If you need the insurance inspections as well, it's about 498 for all three inspections.
Yeah, the house on purpose looks pretty bad. So
Right.
you'll be able to work things out as far as the repairs, like,
Right.
or yeah, okay, cool. Thank you.
Any other questions before I finish up? Okay, if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And so, as I said, we do residential inspections, commercial, mold testing, insurance inspections, money back guarantee on our reports, same day reports. If it's a single family home, we have a 90-day warranty and a 5-year roof leak warranty as long as the roof has been fixed. So feel free to reach out to us with anything. And I'll put my number in the chat if anybody needs it. Thanks, Alex.
Thank
Great
you, Phil.
presentation. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Phil.
That was interesting.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming. I hope you found this educational, and I look forward to seeing you next week for another fruitful meeting. So have a great rest of your day, and take care, all.
Thanks, Alex.
Where's his info?
Thank you.
Should be in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Okay. Take care.
Bye, everybody. Have a great week.